I expected to hear 10 more times from the rally, the president, distancing himself from the left's boogeyman of Project 2025.
Yeah. And you're not worried about that?
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
He's running against a brand. He is not running against any people.
Okay.
He is not running against any institutions. It's interesting. He's in fact not even opposing himself to a particular policy.
Well, here we are, 2 weeks post-election. And what do you know? Turns out he was right. Trump is now choosing several people connected to Project 2025 for key roles in his new administration, including that guy that you just saw in that video there, Russ Vought, who Trump just moments ago announced as his pick to lead the Office of Management and Budget. As NBC News is reporting today, Trump's transition team is taking suggestions for potential hires from the extensive personnel database created by Project 2025.
Peace, family. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. And donate to me if you can. Today, this video is being sponsored by one of my subscribers. Yes, family, you can hit me on the Cash App or the PayPal and ask me to cover a topic, and I will. I'll make a video just for you. Or you can just hit me to show your appreciation, because everything is appreciated. A whole lot of ones beat a whole lot of nuns. Now, let's get into the video. Peace. As you saw, family, Project 2025 is real. Donald Trump is basically hiring everybody who worked on Project 2025 to staff his government so they can implement the agenda. So I don't want nobody coming here talking about Project 2025 is fake, it's a hoax, whatever. This video is about how Trump's presidency is going to hurt black people. And it's just too much stuff to even go over. So I just want to hit a couple of key points that I don't feel are being talked about enough. So let's get into this.
Here in the DMV, we have a thriving black middle class. In fact, we have the highest concentration of black wealth in this region, in large part due to the stability and protections of federal government work. In fact, here in our area, we call it
my good government job. Yeah, my good government job. It has paid for a lot of things.
Project 2025 is a right-wing plan for the next Republican president. And although many of its authors once worked for former President Donald Trump, he's been distancing himself from the plan. It would eliminate some job protections for some government employees and close some government departments, including the Department of Education. That's where Alicia Saunders, a mom of 3, works.
What's going to happen to my household? What's going to happen to my paycheck?
I spoke with one black conservative group that supports Project 2025 and believes that black workers should move out of the federal government and find employment in the private sector.
How can you count on government employment being around forever?
Now, we're just talking about job loss, but Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley has been holding hearings on Project 2025 and had this to say about how its policies could disproportionately impact black people.
They want to take us back and all the way back, not just to Jim Crow. And in my opinion, it is anti-blackness on steroids.
I'm Tracy Wilkins with the News 4 I-Team. To see my full story, go to NBCWashington.com and search investigations.
As you heard, family, I recommend you watch the long version of that video. The link will be in the description box below. But this is not just a PJ County issue. This is a black people issue, because the federal government is the largest employer of black people in the country. The largest employer of black people in the country. Black people are also the most overrepresented group of federal workers. This is why you constantly hear people crying about the number of federal workers. You always hear Republicans talking about the need to downsize. This is why they attack the post office the way they do. It's all racism, and it's an attack on black people. The federal government is not just the biggest employer of black people in America, but it's also the #1 path into the middle class for black people in America. After the civil rights gains of the 1960s opened opportunities in government, blacks began a steady move into local, state, and federal government, particularly in civil service and teaching positions. And since the collapse of U.S. manufacturing, the public sector has been the biggest employer of African Americans. Beyond the jobs themselves, their relative competitive pay scale has lifted generations of blacks into the middle class. Berkeley's Labor Center found that among industries that pay blacks the highest wages, the biggest proportion of those blacks worked in the public sector. The earning gap between whites and blacks, which exists in all industries, is the narrowest in government, the Berkeley research has shown. And if Trump goes through with Project 2025, like it looks like he is going to go through with it, there won't even be a black middle class anymore. Most of these neighborhoods like PJ County won't even exist. People will have to sell their homes. And will they get good equity for it? No, they won't. Because one of Project 2025's day one initiatives is what? Immediately ending the Biden administration's property appraisal and valuation equity, PAVE policies, and reversing any Biden administration actions that threatens to undermine the integrity of real estate appraisals. Now, some of you will be like, I never heard of this. What is PAVE? I'll let Kamala Harris explain it to you.
And segregation, restrictive covenants, and redlining long denied black homeowners a share in the American dream. That inequity continues today in the home appraisal system. Appraisals are meant to be fair and objective estimates of the market value of a property. There's a lot that rides on that estimate, but far too often, for far too many people, they are not fair and objective. Research has repeatedly shown that black homeowners are more likely to have their homes undervalued than other homeowners. And homes in majority black and majority Latino neighborhoods are almost twice as likely to be undervalued than homes in other neighborhoods. Because their homes are undervalued, because understand there's a real consequence. Black and Latino people often have to pay more for their mortgage, receive less when they sell the home, and are less able to access home equity lines of credit. Systemic bias in home valuations widens the racial gap, widens the racial wealth gap, and deepens the long-standing financial inequities that divide our communities. And last summer, our President, Joe Biden, created the Property Appraisal and Valuation Equity Task Force, also known as PAVE. This task force will identify and root out systemic home appraisal bias. Today, after months of deliberation and collaboration with homeowners and home buyers, representatives of the mortgage and appraisal industry, and community leaders, our administration is releasing the PAVE Action Plan. This plan outlines a comprehensive set of actions that our administration will take to advance equity in the appraisal process. The home appraisal workforce is one of the least diverse in our nation. Less than 5% of home appraisers in America are people of color. This lack of diversity can introduce both conscious and unconscious biases that make home appraisals less accurate and less fair. Our administration will now require those who conduct appraisals for federal programs must take part in anti-bias, fair housing, and fair lending training.
As you heard, family, they want to get rid of PAVE, and PAVE is a beautiful program. The only people who want to get rid of PAVE are racists, and that's what we're seeing right now, racism. And repealing the affirmatively furthering fair housing. Why would you want to get rid of that? Why is that a day one initiative for you? And the answer is racism, of course, but I want to turn my attention to the Department of Education, which Trump says he wants to abolish. But he most likely is not going to be able to abolish it, but he'll just gut it from the inside out. And let's just deal with some of the things he's going to do to the Department of Education. He wants to privatize student loans. That's right, the Pell Grants, which black students are the biggest users of. He wants to privatize it, which would make it even harder for black students to get to college because we know about all the racism in the private sector when it comes to loaning money to black people. Next, we're going to talk about Trump bringing back the school-to-prison pipeline. Title VI, School Discipline and Disparate Impact. Ensuring a safe and orderly school environment should be the primary consideration for school leaders and district administrators. Unfortunately, federal overreach has pushed many school leaders to prioritize the pursuit of racial parity in school discipline indicators, such as detention, suspension, and expulsions, over student safety. In 2014, the Obama administration issued a Dear Colleague letter that muddied the standard for civil rights enforcement under Title VI for student discipline cases. Before the DCL, a school would be in violation of federal law for treating black and white students differently for the same offense, disparate treatment. Under the Obama administration, schools were at risk of losing federal funding if they treated black and white students equally, but had aggregate differences in the rate of school discipline by race. Disparate impact. OCR leveraged federal civil rights investigations as policy enforcement tools. These investigations could only end when school districts agreed to adopt lenient discipline policies, commonly known as restorative justice. Academic studies as well as student and teacher surveys suggest that academics and school climate has been harmed substantially by this push. The Trump administration rescinded the Obama administration's guidance on school discipline and corrected the Obama administration's overreach in Title VI enforcement. And you know what's so sad about this, or even what's even worse? Not only did they bring the school to prison pipeline back, they're not even allowing the Justice Department or the Department of Education to even look into cases if the only evidence is disparate impact. And everybody who knows anything about this racist punishment that goes on in these schools, a lot of times that is the only evidence. So now I want to focus on DEI. So I want you to watch this clip. I'll be back after this.
And getting their money's worth. Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
As you heard, family, we all know about when Trump was going to give white students and some Asian students reparations, claiming that they were discriminated against because of DEI. Well, that's not what I was going to talk about. I want to talk about this, about how if it's okay for students to sue because they claim that they're victims of DEI, it's only a matter of time before it's okay for people to sue businesses claiming that they didn't get this promotion or they didn't get hired because of DEI. And what is that doing? Businesses are already starting to get rid of their DEI programs. They're already shifting from it. And it's going to create an environment where businesses are going to even be afraid to hire certain black people for certain positions, or even promote black people for certain positions. Because again, what's stopping any white person saying that I should have got that job, but the reason I didn't get it is because you guys are doing DEI. And they will have the federal government backing them up. Because, you know, Trump has turned the Justice Department on its head, where now, instead of defending civil rights, they'll be defending racism. And now, also, the EEOC won't be able to collect data on who's being hired and who's not being hired. Why? Make it easier for racists to discriminate. But now I want to touch on this. As you can see, this is Elon Musk and the Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. It's not an official government agency, but we don't know how much power and influence Elon will be wielding from the Doge. But I will tell you, this is what we're going to see. This right here. We're going to see people, racist white people, inside the federal government reporting programs reporting other employees to the Doge saying, hey, this is a waste of money, that's a waste of money, or this person I feel is a DEI hire, or whatever. And the Doge is gonna go to Trump, tell him what's going on, and I know Trump is gonna approve any cuts that they ask him to, because why not? It's like, hey, that's DEI, or hey, we could save $2 billion doing this or doing that, and they're gonna do it. So that's what we got to look for also. People just reporting other black people or things that benefit black people. Like, hey, you know this program is DEI, or hey, they're sending money to HBCUs to try to help get more black people into space programs. You know that's a waste of money. Let's cut that. Lastly, I want to touch on this. We all remember when Trump promised to give the police full immunity, right? Well, we all know about that. I want to touch on this. The effective end of posse comitatus. Well, now we'll have the military on the streets working alongside law enforcement to enforce the law. And why is this problematic? Because people say, well, he's only going to use that for the deportations. I don't believe that he's just going to use it for that. But again, we're going to just stick to what we know is going to happen. And what we know is going to happen is that they're going to be deployed to black neighborhoods. Because where are the migrants? The migrants are in a lot of cities that are heavily black. And they're in neighborhoods that are heavily black. So now we're going to have the military running around treating black neighborhoods like occupied territory, looking to get people who are undocumented. That's going to have a bad effect on you, especially the way they want to do it with their private red state army, where they're going to get the National Guard from red states and send them into blue states. A lot of people said that doesn't make any sense. The president has the power to just use the National Guard that's there. Why get National Guard from another state to bring them there? The reason is, it's a chance that those National Guardsmen might not do what needs to be done or what they feel needs to be done, because they know a bunch of good old boys from Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, going into places like Detroit, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia. I don't even know how to put this into words, but let's just say it's not going to be nice. And let's just say they're not just going to be looking for migrants, and they're not just going to be bothering migrants. It's going to be a very bad time. Very bad time. And if you don't believe that immunity is going to extend to them, the same immunity that Trump promised for the police is not going to extend to people in the military working in the capacity of a police officer, working hand in hand with the police, you're foolish. And if you don't believe he's not going to say, hey, let's just try to clean up the city. Since the military's here, let's get the gangbangers. We're getting the migrant gangbangers. Let's get the other ones too. Why not? But anyway, I'm going to end this video here. There's just too much stuff to go over of how bad this is going to be for black people. This is just bad. But I'm going to just end this video here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, drop me a comment, tell me what you think. And on that note, family, peace.